Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Do you ever feel like you're doing the journey alone? Have you ever felt like that you just need someone to talk to, someone who could bring some perspective into your world? Or maybe you're not the type of person who learns from watching video courses or reading books, and you just want to talk with someone specifically about your challenges and how to break through them. I want to introduce you to the High Performance Men's Coaching Program. It's an intensive coaching experience designed to unlock a man's full potential in his life, business, and relationships. Over this past year, I've brought together and trained some of the best coaches in the world to help men step up, stop playing small, and become the strongest versions of themselves. Learn more about High Performance Men's Coaching at kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. You are not alone, and we are here to cut through the crap, hold you accountable, and challenge you so that you can make your dreams become a reality. Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Lewis House, a former professional football player, host of the School of Greatness podcast, and author of the New York Times bestselling book, The School of Greatness. I'm also really excited to have him here today to discuss his new book, The Mask of Masculinity, How Men Can Embrace Vulnerability, Create Strong Relationships, and Live Their Fullest Lives. Lewis, welcome to the show.
My man, thanks for having me.
All right. Let's dive in with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying, likely from the book, something that you have really been living by these last several months or however long you've been working on this book for.
A quote from this book, I mean, there's not a quote that I'm thinking of right now that I wanted to share, more just a general quote that I think is going to be meaningful that I appreciate. And it's a quote that I've really learned is the key to getting anything you want and achieving the ultimate fulfillment you want. And that's the quote that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you actually embody that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When you actually embody that, you start to see your life unfold in a whole new way. You start to see people trusting you, liking you, wanting to be there for you, wanting to support you. And that's a powerful thing. You know, life is about the key to success in life is relationships, and the key to successful relationships is vulnerability, is letting people see you. And that's what this book is all about, is allowing yourself to be seen for who you are, what you've been through, so that people can relate to you and connect to you and trust you more. And if we live a life where we're not showing and revealing our true selves, then people never get to know us, and therefore they can never fully trust us, and therefore they'll never fully support us because something would be missing. So show people how much you care.
Give us some examples. I appreciate one in business and then one in intimate relationship.
Examples of caring or examples of what specifically?
You said is the quote I appreciate, like saying I appreciate you?
No, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay. That's the quote.
Okay.
Yeah. And that works for anything. You know, your family, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you're a father and you're trying to tell your kids, you know what? No, you're wrong. Here's the answer. And you're just telling them how they're wrong the whole time, as opposed to saying, you know what? All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to listen. I'm going to care. I don't need you to know how smart I am. I need you to know that I care. And that's going to build a bond and a relationship in the family. In business as well, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You know, you could be the smartest person in business, but if you treat your customers like crap, they're not going to keep buying from you. So you need to show that you care about your customers, your clients, and you're there for them. You're at the level of support, the detail, the amount of care you provide. They'll be your client for life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that's harder and harder to find today. And when you see a business do that, you're like so happy to support them. Is that one of the masks? I'm always right.
Yeah, the know-it-all mask is one of the masks, and where men feel like they need to have all the answers. and they can't be wrong. Otherwise, they have their self-worth wrapped around their intellect and their desire to be right. And their need to win would also be the athlete mask. Being right and winning are very similar. When we need to win and everything's a competition, or have wrapped around this athlete mask of competition, we're isolating ourselves from other people when we're the only ones winning and everyone else loses.
Yeah.
How can we find a place where everyone wins? And that's the ultimate man.
I'm thinking, right when you said that, I was thinking of, you're in Los Angeles when Kobe was really the show. Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, he was the show, not passing the ball, most points per game, but also most shots per game. He's the one owning it. And it was until he really started opening up and sharing the ball is when the team won the championships.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why did you write this book? Okay, you could have talked more about success. You could have talked about business. You could have talked about high performance. I think that is how most people would think of you with the School of Greatness podcast and the successes that you've had personally in business, New York Times bestselling author. Why did you shift to a topic that is focused around men, but also this benefits women, but you're talking to men?
I wrote it because this is the most important thing in my life right now. And it's showing me more and more with what's happening in the media that this is, besides health, this is the most important thing. And I believe it ties into emotional well-being and health. When I look at just this year alone, the racial marches in Charlottesville, where white, angry, fearful men are marching for what they believe in and fighting and killing people because they don't know how to express themselves in a different way, in a healthier way. Where in our politics, where this need to be right all the time, this need to react to everything, this example that's being set to put others down in order to look good and win. From last week, the sexual assaults and the sexual conversations in Hollywood, where high-level executive men are assaulting women, harassing women to show their dominance and their power to get them jobs or whatever, to the mass killing in Las Vegas, to the domestic violence that happens in the NFL or in other professional sports. All these things just happening this year alone are stemming from the police brutality, to all these things. It's men who are protecting themselves, who are hurt or fearful, that are trying to lead with some type of mask and project their sense of masculinity in the world to protect themselves. And in some cases, it works. It gets you results when we lead with these masks. And so you want to keep doing it because you're getting results. In other cases, you're left very empty and isolated and suffering. And so you keep doing it to chase more. And it's never enough. And you wrap your self-worth around these masks. So I felt like it was my calling right now, because there's not many white athlete jock-looking men who are talking about what it felt like, going through sexual abuse myself, who are talking about these things, who are opening up and addressing some of these concerns. It's mostly women who are addressing these things and talking about it, or these spiritual men out there who are, the spiritual yogis and gurus. But there's not many jock-looking dudes who are former pro athletes talking about this. And I felt like I had a responsibility to be in the conversation, to move the conversation forward, to open people up and give them a catalyst so they can learn more about themselves. And in no way am I perfect or figured it out or elevated above anyone else. I get triggered just as much, and I've been practicing for 4 years this work now. But I'm so much more aware and so much more at peace inside, and I don't have to react as quickly to situations. And again, it's that having the awareness and being clear on, do I want to react in these situations, or do I want to respond with love? And when I am aware more often and I respond with love, then I think that's the ultimate man, the man who can express himself and who can disarm situations through his communication and not through anger, rage, or putting people down.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to you. Not saying they can't relate to others, but I think there is an audience of people who may relate to you more so than the yogi on top of a mountain, or the guy who's super spiritual, which that is definitely beneficial. But I think you provide something new to the table here. What happened to you? So I've obviously reading through like the book description and watching videos and listening to your other talks. And it seems like there was a point in your success where you have reached not the top, but you have reached a lot of success. You have done something really, really extraordinary with the work that you do and feeling like unfulfilled.
Yeah. For me, I had a few catalysts in my life that made me think differently because I was achieving everything I set out to achieve.
Yeah.
And when I turned 30, I was in a really toxic relationship that I didn't have the emotional capacity to get out of. And I was afraid to lose the intimacy, but I knew the rest of the relationship was not working and it wasn't the right fit. And I was getting angrier and angrier in my life because of it. And I got in a fight on a basketball court that left me terrified because there was blood everywhere and the guy's face was busted up. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm getting angry in every situation. I'm allowing myself to physically fight someone. The relationship is not working. My business partnership that I was in was not working. Like everything was not working. And that fight was kind of the wake up call for me because I was like, I could lose everything here. Like someone could have had like a knife or something and someone could have, I could have got hurt. I could have gone to jail. Like who knows? Even though the guy hit me first, like I ended it. It's just not worth it. Like, why do I need to result in physical aggression? And why can't I just diffuse something through my emotional disarming? You know what I mean? So I was just like, it gave me some reflection time where I was like, okay, stuff isn't working. I need to look at things a little differently. And that's when I started to assess everything in my life. I went to different coaches and therapists and workshops and just like, give me feedback. Let me just talk about these things. Let me get it out there. And I eventually, through one of these workshops, I opened up about being sexually abused for the first time in 25 years where I never told anyone. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying to talk about. It was terrifying to open up about. I felt shameful. I felt guilty. I felt insecure. I was like, no one's going to accept me when I tell them. The opposite happened. People were like, wow, I trust you so much more now. Wow, like you're my hero. Wow, thank you for doing this. You give me the courage to talk about it. And I was like, really? You mean you still want to hang out with me? You still like me and this and that?
Yeah.
And they were like, you need to tell your friends and your family this. You need to tell more people. And I was like, there's no way I'm telling this to my friends and family. It's going to devastate them and maybe they won't, like me. But I ended up doing that. And it was terrifying again. Like all these times I was telling people it was terrifying, but it got a little easier the more and more I talked about it.
Yeah.
To where I wasn't like welling up or quivering my lip or stressing out in my chest. And one time I talked about it and I felt like, wow, I think I'm okay to talk about this without being afraid anymore. Like enough people still accepted me and still loved me and still wanted to be around me where I was like, oh, I'm not going to lose friends if they know this thing that happened to me 25 years ago. It gave me a sense of freedom that I could be fully myself, express any of my fears, insecurities, flaws, things of the past, whatever, let people see them of me. And they actually loved me more. And and my business grew and like relationships took off and like things like, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Everything I've been taught and everything I thought I couldn't do is actually, so much more powerful by stepping into that. So for me, that's what the catalyst was, and allowed me to overcome a lot of demons in my past, allowed me to not let these moments have power over me. Because every time I reacted as a human being or was triggered or got defensive, I'm saying that I'm weak and I'm actually giving you power. Because you're affecting my response.
Yeah.
So you have control over my response when you say or do these things or don't do these things. And I realized like, wow, me being this like alpha man and reacting all the time and puffing up my chest and showing my dominance and my smarts in these moments and the desire to be right and to win all the time is actually a weak man. It's not the man that reacts and proves himself. It's the man that doesn't have to prove himself, that can step into a situation and like calmly like move people aside. He can step into chaos with grace. Be like, you know what? Let's just diffuse this and let's communicate because we're emotional human beings. We don't need to freaking just destroy each other right now. And that's been the journey for me, is discovering how to continue to do that because every day I'm triggered. I'm living, there's traffic, there's people attacking me, whatever. And it's a constant reminder to breathe in grace and let go of like all the BS that I've been holding on to for years.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate with you right now as you're talking, and probably connect with you a lot more too as you're sharing, because they know you as this ultra successful young entrepreneur.
Right.
So I think when you share your truth, you're more human, because everyone has flaws. Like if right now, if there was a room of 100 guys and we all had to write something that we didn't want anyone to know, and we had to write it on a paper and drop it in a box, I think every single person can write multiple things that they wouldn't want anyone to know, but we hide those things. And when we hide those things, I think it prevents us from being human, because we're trying to be perfect. And I think we just can't relate to perfection. I think it is vulnerability that makes us human, and humans can only relate to humans. We can't relate to perfect beings. I think that is what makes, if we look at the hero's journey, there's always like flaws within the hero. And that is what makes the hero's journey that's how we relate to the hero. Otherwise, he just succeeds, and it's like, oh, good for him.
Right, exactly.
I'm glad that he succeeded. I cannot see myself as that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Right now, there's probably a lot of people who think once I achieve this goal that I so badly want, then I can be happy. So they're in a state of, suffering. They're not sleeping. They're working. They're dreaming. They're working really hard, as maybe some of the books might show them to do. What do you say to those men who right now think that I'm going to be happy once I achieve this goal?
You got to ask yourself what's your motivation for achieving the goal? Is your motivation to prove something? Is it to make yourself look good? Is it to prove the people that said you couldn't do it that they're wrong? Is it to gain some type of acceptance in the world? If that's what it's attached to, then it's not going to make you happy, because it might make you feel something good for a moment. Then it's never going to be enough. Then you're going to be like, well, that's it. I need to go do more and prove myself to more people. And you're always going to have to prove to someone else. And what I've learned over the last 4 years since I've started to be aware of this, that my whole life was to prove people wrong, was to try to look good, was to try to be the best so that I could just be accepted more. I started shifting from the needing to prove people wrong to wanting to lift others up. And the amount of inner peace that I face through chasing my dreams and attacking my goals and going after what I want is so much more calming. I can sleep at night better because I'm not stressed out all night. Like, did I do enough? Did I do enough? Like up all night working and killing myself.
Right.
I'm able to go to bed restful and grateful for the work that I did that day, knowing I'm one step closer to my dreams. And it feels so much better to live a life of service, to give back, or just to do something that inspires you and that you want other people to be inspired by your example, than inspires you to make other people think different about you, or let other people know that they were wrong, or to put people down, or to make yourself look better than. It's just a recipe for unfulfillment. But you can still achieve the same thing and be fulfilled or not be fulfilled. You can still go after big dreams, make a ton of money, do all these things. But if you're doing it to prove others wrong, it's going to be the most powerful fuel that you can have to prove other people wrong. But it's going to burn you out, and you're going to have extreme burnout at some point. And it's just not sustainable fuel. Right. So we want to create that. We want to find that and consume that clean, efficient fuel, that environmentally friendly fuel, that recyclable fuel,
some Tesla
that fuel,
energy.
Exactly, the fuel that runs on positive energy, not the junk, the sugar that's going to like give you that boost, but then you're always going to crash. You need like that renewable energy that is just like evergreen and just runs smooth the whole way through. And that's what we're looking for as men.
A great analogy with the whole car is that the trying to prove someone wrong is like putting nitrous on your engine, on your car, where you're going to go faster, but it will blow up your engine if you just keep that thing running. Your engine will blow up, man. And that could be our life, but it might show up like we'll blow up on our spouse. We'll blow up on
somewhere.
We'll blow up somewhere. It could blow up in your body where you have chronic pain,
cancer,
chronic headaches, cancer. that made me think of Steve Jobs. I don't know if there's a relationship there, but he may have needed to read this book.
Yeah.
Why is it dangerous for men who are constantly taking risk and can never back down from a fight? Like they constantly are in that state.
I mean, one, you're going to hurt yourself eventually. You may hurt someone else. Something is going to happen. You're not invincible for your whole life. I know many men who have been able to like attack and be in a fight every time that didn't like have something go wrong eventually. I don't care how trained you are, how professional you are. And also, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be in conflict and fighting all the time and having to defend yourself with aggression and physicality when you should learn how to use your mind and your heart to connect or diffuse situations. So it's not sustainable, man. You don't want to be 80 and always fighting.
Yeah, I think you'll miss it. I think you'll miss it. An analogy on this conversation is the recent Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, where McGregor was clearly having this loud mouth, very just constantly, making fun of Mayweather, where Mayweather would just, and he's kind of prancing around him during this kind of pre-fight shows, and Mayweather would just sit there and be so calm and collected and laugh. And then we know what happened at the fight. I mean, he didn't have to react. He was grounded and calm and knew what he could do and didn't have to talk. He just had to perform.
That's it, man. That's it.
Why do you think men are so afraid of being vulnerable? What is it about vulnerability that, the definition is weak point, like a vulnerable position to attack, like if we're talking military, it's a weak point. So maybe in someone's life, it's a weak point in someone's life, but why are we afraid to share that when what I'm getting from you and from so many great books about vulnerability, especially Brene Brown's work, is that it is actually a strength?
Well, I think it's conditioning from early childhood. Maybe your father said like young boys don't cry or whatever it is, or maybe you didn't have the example of like how to express yourself, or when you were in school, maybe classmates made fun of you for expressing yourself or being scared or crying someday at like second grade. And then the boys made fun of you and said, don't be a little girl. And this conditioning over and over. And then you go into sports or you go into something else and they say, don't show weakness, don't show pain, like get back up, be a man. And again, conditioning over and over again. If you're in a relationship and a girlfriend is like, you want to open up and be sensitive, and she's like, I need you to be strong in this moment right now. I'm freaking out. I'm scared. I need you to be the man. Be strong. And it's like, again, conditioning over and over again. You want to make people happy. You want to please people. You want to be accepted. You want to fit in. And you don't want to be made fun of. You don't want to be made fun of for having a sensitive heart, for being caring and compassionate, because it's not cool to grow up like that. And then it crosses over into the rest of our lives. And it's just hard to break conditioning because we don't think we're allowed to, and we don't think it's safe to. But I'm telling you that it's a dark place to live in. And if you can't express your emotions to at least one person, I think 50% of men feel like they don't have one good guy friend they could tell their stuff to. So what do you do? Like you said, it's going to be created in the body. You're going to create a heart attack. You're going to create cancer, chronic back pain, or you're going to be so stoic and you're going to bottle it all up. And eventually you're going to be like the Vegas killer, just shoot everyone at once. Just let me let it all out and just start shooting everyone because I don't know how to express myself. And this is how I get my anger out. And then I kill myself. Or I don't know how to communicate with healthy expressions. So I'm going to beat my wife because I'm angry. I'm not getting what I want. So I'm going to use my physical aggression. Or I'm in Hollywood and I'm going to wear the sexual mask and I'm going to manipulate women and show them that I'm powerful and they have to respect me. So I'm going to sexually harass them, whatever it is. Men don't know how to communicate their wants and needs or their fears as well as women do in general, because women do this all the time. They're constantly getting in groups and talking about their fears and insecurities, and it's a way of
accepted
life.
Too. It's
acceptable.
That's a part of being social for women. Yeah.
It's okay to talk about these things. Yeah. In fact, if you don't talk about them, it's like, all right, well, I don't really trust you. And I don't feel like I can talk about my stuff. And, no one wants to be around someone who's always perfect. Like you said, It's not relatable.
Yeah.
And yet, as men, I believe that just with all the conditioning from our parents or peers and sports teams and media and everything in general, it's a different conditioning, a different acceptance level.
Yeah. Like if I ask someone like, hey, how you doing? And it's all the good. I'm almost like, oh, well, I was about to share this really tough thing going on, but maybe I shouldn't. And I should also say all the good things going on in my life too, to match your perfection. So I don't feel so like you're like way above me here. And then no real conversation happens from that. I think the challenge that men have with vulnerability is the balance. Like, are you constantly walking around and telling people about things that happened in your childhood that you're scared of? Or like, is this like...
Yeah, you don't need to do that every single day.
Exactly.
If I'm constantly like crying about things I'm afraid of, I'm not powerful in that way of being either. I think it's having discernment of knowing when and timing of things and when to talk about these things. And if someone's just walking by and says, how's your day? Maybe if you have 2 minutes, you're not going to be like, actually, I'm really stressed and all these things from my childhood are coming up for me right now. And, you may not want to go through that in that moment,
right?
But you also want to have a balance and be like, when can I talk about these things? And who can I talk about these things to? And is there a time every day or every week where I call my best friend or my partner and we go over these things once a week, once a month, whatever, where you can just allow yourself to process and let things go. Because when we hold on to these emotions, when we hold on to these negative experiences in our life, they become triggers for us. Mm-hmm. They trigger us in the future and they hurt us. They hold us back from our vision of living a more powerful life. So if you want to, achieve all the things you want and feel fulfilled in that process, then let go of those triggers and start living a life more of meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If this is, I'll share with guys, like if this is a person you love, you should be able to share your truth with that person.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't share your truth with people you say you love, then there's a problem there.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a baseline of who you should be vulnerable and just to help guys out there. You talked about the triggers. So even though you've written this book and I can imagine it's going to do phenomenal, and you've interviewed all these people about this subject and done a lot of other work you talked about with coaching and psychologists, all this stuff. It still happens to you. You still wrestle with this. It is not like, hey, like I'm writing the book and this is like my trophy saying that I am complete. So the triggers pop up. How do you have a series of things you do? Is there 3 things you do, 5 things you do that helps you manage triggers?
First, I just become aware of it. When I'm in that situation and I feel myself getting angry or aggressive or one of these things, I become aware of it because I'm practicing it on a daily basis. In the morning, I'm meditating and being mindful. And I go through like, okay, if something happens in the future today where I get triggered, how do I want to respond? And I practice in my mind before these triggers happen. I say, okay, I'm going to breathe. So I train myself to remember to breathe. And I say, I'm not going to speak until I've relaxed, because nothing good comes out of my mouth when I'm worked up. Nothing ever good comes out of my mouth. When I'm angry and upset, I'm going to say the dumbest stuff or stuff that's going to try to attack people. And I'm going to look like an idiot. So I say I'm going to breathe until I feel calm. And then I'm going to try to figure out, and then I'm going to smile. I try to ask myself to smile because I remind myself like, wow, how fitting is it that I'm writing this book about masculine vulnerability and I'm angry right now and I'm frustrated and I'm living with this mask right now.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of smile and I'm like, okay, this is a great reminder for me. I get to live what I'm trying to talk about. And how can I be a little bit better than the day before or the last month or whatever? How can I just be a little bit better? And it's not always better. Sometimes I'm worse. And I evaluate at the end of the day, how did I do today? Gosh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I handle that situation? Man, that was like a 3. I pretty much sucked as a human today. And I say, okay, what am I committed to tomorrow? Let me breathe and realize that this didn't work for me. And when I do these other things a different way, it works better. I have better results and I don't feel this residual stress like I do right now. And so it's just a reminder. It's just a constant work in progress.
That's great. How has adopting these mindsets and beliefs and practices helped you reach higher levels of success in your business?
Man, I mean, just like living in service and living to give as opposed to living to just make others look bad or be the best is just, people feel it. It's just an energy that people feel. And when you focus on caring for other people and making it about how you can serve them to the highest level, they'll be your client for life. So again, people don't care how much you know or how good you are or how great you are until they know how much you care.
What is something that didn't make it in the book that you wanted to put in, or didn't have enough time because your editor said submit by this deadline, and so you just submitted?
I feel like, man, I just feel like we got a lot of good stuff in here. Is there anything that I would add? I'm not a parent yet, so I haven't had that experience of like the masks that parents wear. I give examples of other parents, but I've never lived that yet myself. And so I'm sure so many more things will open up for me whenever I become a parent. So I think, that's something to think about. But I'm 34. I'm figuring things out. I haven't figured everything out yet. I'm just trying to give my best.
That's great. What would you say are some common mistakes that men typically make when they're being vulnerable with their partner or trying to be vulnerable with their partner?
I don't know if there's mistakes. When you're being vulnerable, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just about opening up and trying to get things out that are hard to get out, that are scary for you or you feel insecure about. Just talking about it in general, that's an amazing accomplishment in my mind, because it's something that a lot of us don't do as men. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think a mistake they might make is like not doing it enough, or not sharing something when they know something's eating them alive inside, and waiting too long until it's too late. So just being consistent with it. Like if something's going on, just have like a few moments every day. Just when you ask about how was your day, babe, or whatever, it's like really share in that moment. Like, is there something like yesterday was something that was frustrating me and I just talked about it and addressed it and I felt better. But you don't have to have like everything put together all the time. But you also don't have to be in breakdown every day.
Right.
No one wants to be around someone who's constantly like,
it's like
vulnerable either.
Emotional storm.
Yeah. So it's like, you want to get your life together and be grateful for everything and live with that positive mindset. But when something frustrates you, be willing to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. The key thing here, I just want to highlight, there's no wrong way to be vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
You just start and then you just open up that conversation, and there's no perfect way to do it.
That's it, man.
The fact that you do it. Yeah, great. Let's dive into the knowledge round. Just going to ask you some rapid fire questions here to conclude. Are you ready?
Ready.
So you might be wondering, why would I ever invest in a coach? I've never done anything like that before. Well, it's going to shorten your learning curve and save you the time that it would take to achieve your goal. You can avoid making mistakes that you would otherwise make. You'll get more results because everything will be tailored to your specific needs and challenges. The coach will hold you accountable so you can't procrastinate, so you can't be lazy, so you can't say, I didn't have the time. You'll be challenged and pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. You'll have conversations so powerful that you'll feel more energized, alive, and confident and certain about the goals that you have in front of you and where you want to go. Most importantly, where you want to be. You'll go farther than you've ever gone before when you have a coach. If you want to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program, go to kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program. You have got to understand that every successful person in the world invests in coaching to go from good to great. And if you're already a high achiever, then how much more could you achieve if you had a high performance men's coach at your side to push you even further? Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply for our high performance men's coaching program. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
More on other topics here too, just expanding on where we are now. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling really lost or unsure of their purpose?
Talk to someone that you trust, that isn't going to judge you, that isn't going to make you wrong, and allow yourself to share all those things that you're afraid of. Allow yourself to share and just have a conversation and start finding mentors, people who have been through similar situations as you and who've gotten through the other side, and just ask them questions and allow yourself to create goals and have a challenge that you can apply towards for a few weeks, a few months, a few years, and see yourself progress with.
Great. What do you think is holding most men back from becoming stronger, grounded men today?
Their need to impress other people, their need to look good, their need to be right, their need to win. as opposed to their ability to connect. And I think when men understand that true greatness and true leadership comes in learning how to understand where everyone else is coming from, as opposed to needing everyone else to understand you, that's when you start to touch lives in a powerful way. You start to transform your life and the people around you and your business, your career, your world around you, when you come from a place of listening and understanding others.
And what would you say on this journey that you've had most recently have been 3 of your most influential books that have supported you in getting answers or research or just helping you get more clarity?
I really like The Way of the Superior Man. That was a good one. I read that a few years ago. That helped me when I was going through a toxic relationship. So The Way of the Superior Man. Yeah. The 4 Agreements, man. 4 Agreements is powerful. It's so simple, but powerful. Literally, like, it doesn't matter, man, woman, human being. If you live by those, you're going to feel better. I interview a lot of people more than read books. So I'd say Dr. Drew was helpful. I had Dr. Drew on, who kind of just like opened up about some of these reasons why men do some of these things, the addictive mind, things like that, and how hard it is to break through these things. So
great books. And I'll have to check out more of his work. This next one's more of a scenario for yourself, Lewis. So if you could envision, let's say 25-year-old Lewis, if you could envision where he's at personally, professionally, in his relationships right now. All right, so you got that picture of where he's at. And so if right now you could sit down with him and chat with him for 60 seconds, what would you tell him to do? What would you tell him not to do?
Oh, man. I'd probably just look him in the eyes and listen to him and make him feel seen and heard and make him feel that I understand by listening. And then I would, based on what the questions he asked me, I would respond, but I wouldn't want to just say things to him because he may not be ready to hear them. So first come from a place of listening so he understands me and is willing to open up. And then I would probably just confirm that he has the power to respond in any moment with grace, love, and service. And that if he wants to achieve true greatness in his life, he wants to make the most money, have the most incredible relationships, that's going to be the biggest challenge for him to overcome, is responding in moments that he feels aggressive or angry, or upset or defensive with love, grace, and calm.
Mm-hmm. Great. I think you might be the first person to say, I would just listen. I can't. I asked that question. You might be like the 405 person. And most people were like, oh man, I would, they know what they would say. So that was very interesting and unique. And so I think that sheds light on, for guys listening, that they need to find someone or open up with someone that can listen and the importance of that, or do that for someone else.
Again, we want to be heard and seen as human beings. And if we feel like someone's just talking to us, but they're not listening to us and really understanding us, then we may never fully open up. But when someone sees us and says, I hear you, I get you, tell me more, we're going to be willing to share more because we're going to feel like they get me, they understand me. Let me reveal more of the things that he's going to understand. And that's a powerful thing. Listening. As an interviewer, you understand the power of listening and asking the right questions, the evoking questions, and then not responding. And it's a game changer. It's, opened up my life, the ability to listen.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest epiphanies, because I'm working on this other project, one of the biggest epiphanies that I had in coaching, so when I was coaching clients, when I was doing this regularly, was that I was, people would be so excited to work with me, and then I would just dish out all this information on them, and then they come back and they didn't do it. And I was like, why didn't you do it? I told you exactly what to do. And the epiphany was for me to stop telling them what to do and to shift from, let's say, 80-20 of where I'm doing 80 and they're doing 20, but shift to now where they're doing 80% of the talking and I'm doing 20% of the talking. And I found that clients would get so much more results when I would listen and ask critical questions that would elicit and open up a conversation that they never thought they would have, versus me just telling them what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we'll come to even if you had to summarize some of your main points here, even if you're looking at some of your previous work in the School of Greatness, what would you say is your philosophy on life and success, Lewis?
I think Maya Angelou said it, which I don't know a better way of saying it, but she said, people may not remember the things you say or do, but they'll always remember the way you made them feel. And I think that something like that. Yeah. And I think that's my philosophy on life and success, is that it doesn't matter a lot of the times what you say, things you do. People are going to remember the way you made them feel about those things. So it's our intention, our delivery, our ability to look in people's eyes and connect and listen. Sometimes I will meet someone and I won't really say anything. I'll ask a couple questions and I won't say anything else. And they'll talk for 10 minutes. And then they'll say, wow, man, you're such an interesting person. Like, thank you so much. This was so powerful. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't say anything. And I think, again, when you show that you're more interested in people, you become the most interesting person. Yeah. Someone else said something like a quote like that. I don't know who that was, but I find it to be true.
Dale Carnegie. I think that's
really
his first lessons there. But absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Now, so we have covered so much ground, and you've been vulnerable. You've opened up, and sometimes there's just content, and it's like, what do I do here? So if there's one thing that you want the audience to do to take from this interview that we've shared together with the thousands of listeners, like, what would you want them to do that you feel would make them get value from this whole thing here?
Take out your phone right now and think about one person who's made a massive impact in your life who you really appreciate, and send them a text message and acknowledge them for something they've done that's inspired you, impacted you, and send, a couple sentences of examples. You really inspire me because of this, this, or this. And I just wanted to let you know that it means a lot to me that you're here in this world, that you're someone I can reach out to, or that you're just an inspiration to me. Making an impact on someone else, one person's life right now, by letting them know, by acknowledging them, is one of the most profound things that you can do. And see what happens by taking that one step.
All right, there it is, guys. There's the challenge. Get it done. Might even be good to put that in your calendar and put it on repeat every other week or so. And just, a personal question for me here, even though this whole thing's been very personal, is, Lewis, how do you balance your work and personal life? Like, do you take certain days off? Do you schedule vacations out in advance? I think it's such a challenge for high performers to actually have a life outside of work.
It's all seasons, man. Every season I'm just evaluating. Am I feeling overwhelmed or overworked? If so, I'll take a few days off, take a break, go somewhere, disconnect. I usually like to take my nights to just relax or do things that are fun for me. Weekends, I'll try to go to the beach if I can and relax. But sometimes, like right now, I'm working, all day for, a couple months because I'm in a season of life that demands that, with something coming out, a book coming out, or whatever's happening. So I just try to focus on seasons. It's like I look at life as like a sport. Football, there's a preseason, there's a season, there's the playoffs, and then there's a postseason. We get to evaluate our life like that. If you're always in playoff mode, you're going to burn out. If you're always in the season or playoff mode, you're going to burn out. And that's why, you need a postseason. You need some time to reflect. You need that bye week where you get a couple days off in the middle of a hard season. You got to do those things. Otherwise your body, your mind will break down. And you need that postseason and then preseason to get warmed back up for the next challenge you want to take on. So I think figure out how you want to run the seasons of your life. And there's no right or wrong way. Just I'm evaluating constantly. Do I feel overworked? If so, I'll take a day off.
I like that. And you are going to get injured too if you just keep playing.
That's it, man.
Imagine if sports just went 12 months, no breaks, no off season.
For years.
Everyone would just be injured. All right, guys. lewishouse.com, but also check out the book, The School of Greatness. But what we've been talking about mostly throughout this entire interview is his latest book, which by the time you're listening to this is out. Go to Amazon, The Mask of Masculinity. Get it now. Get it while you can. He's also got an amazing trailer video on YouTube. You can type in Mask of Masculinity, give you a real good synopsis of the book. Lewis, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show. I couldn't be more excited to talk to you about this conversation more so than just general success principles. This has been fantastic, Lewis. It's been an honor to have you here on the show. It's been some time in the making for myself.
I appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of knowledgeformen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.